Good morning and welcome to our Sycamore Township workshop meeting for Tuesday, September the 15th, 2020. The time is 9 a.m. This morning, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're following House Bill 197 that allows local government the opportunity to conduct meetings remotely. We're following our governor's guidelines. Fiscal Officer Rob Porter, please call the roll.
Mr. LaBarbera?
Here.
Mr. James?
Here.
Mr. Weidman?
Present.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the September 1st, 2020 Trustees Workshop minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Yes, aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weidman?
Aye.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the September 3rd Trustee meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Vote. Second.
Comments?
Mr. LaBarbera?
Call the vote.
Mr.
Aye.
LaBarbera? Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weidman?
Aye.
Okay, we have an electric aggregation presentation from Energy Alliances. Mr. Dan Dieters is here. I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Dieters.
How you doing?
Good.
Good morning. I just wanted to give it a quick update on
Well,
what.
excuse me just for a second. Do we need Dan to have a,
You might want to step up towards
by that microphone, move that
Yeah, we can do
microphone?
that.
Yeah, let's do that.
There we go. Is this okay? Can you hear me?
Yep.
So, wanted to give you a brief overview of where Sycamore Township's electric aggregation stands. In front of you, in a packet, I kind of gave a little bit of a history about Energy Alliances as a Sycamore Township business. We've assisted the township with aggregation since 2007, since before it was put on the ballot. And we've run these programs for the last 12 years for the residents to have a solid choice to stabilize their energy bills. So where we are right now is Sycamore is at the end of a 3-year deal with Dynegy that was signed in early 2017, I believe, and I'm sorry, it'll have been middle 2017. Basically, at that time, they signed a 5.49 cents per kilowatt hour deal. In your packet is a history of how the program has done on page 3. And also at that time, Dynegy offered the township a 6-month extension at the same price. So at this point, we're just about to start that 6-month extension. Unfortunately, we have to, not unfortunately, according to PUCO rules, we have to send an opt-out. We do that once every 3 years. This is going to fall on that timeline. So we're required, Sycamore is actually required, but we do it through your supplier, Dynegy, to send that opt-out out. The problem that we have is since the 6-month extension occurred, the PUCO requires a 1-year aggregation program. So you're required to make a choice as to how you would like to go forward with regard to that next 6 months, one way or another. So what we did, since we are already contracted with Dynegy, we went back to Dynegy and we said, listen, give us some options for the administration of Sycamore for this next 6 months, a 12-month, and an 18-month, which is you'll see it says 24-month, but the first 6 months is already completed an option. So you look at your options. So first option is stay at the 5.49 and then drop to 5.21 cents a kilowatt hour for the next 6 months. The second option you'll see there is we've blended the total price, so it would drop to 5.37 from 5.49. Both of those prices, and I've had some discussions with some residents that Mr. Warwick had referred to me with regard to renewable energy. Every one of these programs that we presented to you has a renewable option. So if a resident, once they get their opt-out letter, they can choose that renewable option and have 100% renewable energy with their program. So there were some residents that were interested in that, so we added that, for the township, and there's a small extra charge. It probably costs them about $1 a month to exercise that option, and it's completely their choice one way or another. Option 3 is a 24-month tiered traditional, which we stick with the 549 until May, and then for the next 18 months, we drop it down to 519. So that is actually the best long-term price for the residents, where they will save the most money, because Sycamore Township uses, as a lot of townships, quite a bit of energy in the summertime. So if we can drop that down, that's 2 summers at 519. And then last option is just a 24-month flat blend at 529, and those also have the renewable content in it if resident so chooses. So we're recommending at this point sticking with 549 for 6 months and then going to that 519 for 18. That seems to be the program that's going to save the most money for the average resident. We'll send out the opt-out with Dynegy. All this board is required to do is pick a program, or you can do one of 2 things. You can pick an option, or you can set a ceiling price and have your administrator, Mr. Warwick, pick it at some point. It's up to you if you guys would want to do an at or below. Say the board decides they're going to stick with a 549 for the next 5-6 months, and then Mr. Warwick can sign below 5.2 if he feels the market's right. These prices do change daily, as you know, because that's how the market works. So this price is good today. They will hold that until midnight tonight, and I have also attached a copy of an addendum. So there won't be a new contract. There'll just be the addendum, which clarifies the new price on the back. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
And what's the Duke at today?
About 551. You're still getting a small discount through the next 6 months, but then it drops off about 6% for the next 18 months after that. Here's the other thing that I neglected to mention before. Ohio has not had a capacity auction for the following year after 2021, May 2022. So capacity is an unknown. So if that capacity goes way up, you're protecting your residents from any movement in that. Capacity is basically how much they do it via auction in our territory, and it is going up in May. We already know that. So that 551, 552, that's probably going to jump a little bit in May. So you're insuring the residents at 5.19 number an even greater discount probably than we're sitting here seeing today, because we know that's going up. And then the 22, 23, or 20 up until December 2022 is pretty much an unknown, that last 6 months on capacity. That could be anything.
Question about the program. If residents don't opt out during the opt-out window, are they committed to a contract themselves, or can they make a change earlier?
So our programs, or Energy Alliances, invented a term in our contracts where every person can come and go as they please without fee. And we make the supplier adhere to that. So if you're a resident and you want to come in January into the program and then leave in May because you found something on apples to apples and then come back in December, there's no cost with our side of the program. There may be a cost if you go out to a third-party supplier and they may have early termination fees or things like that. We have no fees of any kind, no early termination fees, and we have a revolving door for all the residents. So there's no obligation at any time. Even though the opt-out letter is required by the PUCO, we make the supplier allow residents to come and go.
So this provides an optional discount to residents with no downside. They can leave whenever
Yeah, they can
want.
do whatever they want at any time with no issue. And what it really does is protect the residents, because you get the door-to-door guys that are out there, and they know, they can go on the PUCO's website and they can see that Sycamore has an aggregation program. And they know that those prices that they're offering can't generally beat the aggregation program, so they kind of stay out of the areas. You'll see them every now and then, but not too much. You'll see more direct mail stuff, you know, the Visa card stuff and the crazy stuff like that, you know. I mean, who do you think's paying for that Visa card? You are.
I can tell you, we had a resident that contacted me, and he said, "Tom, what's the deal with our aggregation program? I'm paying so much more for electric now." I said, "Why don't you get your bill? Let's take a look at your bill." Well, he had jumped to another company
Yeah.
that he got that great deal on for 6 months, and he was paying like $400 a month for electric. And of course, they want a big price to get out.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pay to get out of their program. So I can say for when I first became a trustee, I pushed this pretty hard about aggregation, because we had the option in Ohio to aggregate, and I can tell you that Energy Alliances has done an outstanding job of keeping us on the right track as it relates to price. I think I can't remember a time that we have been above Duke or even equal to Duke. There may have been a blip when we were in a contract and prices started to fall and we were locked in at a certain number, but I don't recall that happening. But
That's kind of happening right now.
yeah, it looks like
Because energy's falling. That's why, you know, we want to do something as rapidly as possible to try to, you know, it's not going to go above it, but it's going to get a little bit closer to it than it's been, just because energy's so cheap and gas is bottomed.
Yep.
So, and gas is used to make electricity. So, and I will say this: if something would happen where they would change the energy policy in this country and they would kill all fracking and things like that, you'll see prices double.
no doubt. I mean, in looking at this, I think option 3 is our best option, but I'll yield to the two of you to determine what you think is best.
Well, we are getting bombarded, at least at my house. I probably get a dozen calls a week apologizing for Duke, and we can get you a better deal. And usually by the time they get 2-3 words out, I'm automatically hanging up. But this is, so we know the residents are getting hit with these phone calls.
Yeah, the phone calls are the worst because they claim that the third-party supplier owes them money and has overbilled. You're
Yeah.
hearing this one a lot. I've actually called the Attorney General on that company, so, and filed a complaint, so. It's just not true. You know, and they use the bill against some of these residents and some folks that may not be so, you know, in tune with what their bill says. They'll say, well, Duke's charging you. There's a service section charge of your bill, and then there's an energy section charge. And whether you're in an aggregation or not, that energy section charge comes from Duke. It'll still be there. It'll just be a little bit higher. And the service never leaves, because people have to have electric at their home. But you're right, Mr. LaBarbera, that there's a lot of cell phone contact out there.
Well, I had asked in our last meeting that we get some more information about this and have Mr. Dieters come in, and that we have an opportunity here for public comment if anyone had any between the last meeting and this. Have we gotten any comments at all?
No, I haven't taken any calls here at the township, other than the couple of people that Dan's talking about that wanted to make sure they could do the renewable energy.
I think that's probably a direct reflection of how satisfied our residents have been with this aggregation program, so.
Well, I do take calls from Sycamore residents, and I've actually had them in the last 10 years actually stop. Our office is right over on Blue Ash Road. I've had them stop in, and I've helped some residents read their bill and make them understand it, and it's a little bit different than, our customer service is a little bit different than the average consultant. We make sure, and if people, if they got a better deal, they've chosen a third-party deal, we'll tell them to stick with it, but then we'll give them the timeline to jump over to the aggregation. Because a lot of times they'll get these 6-month good deals, and so I'd say put it on your calendar, give me a call, and we'll move you over, and then you won't get that big hit. So we do our best to take care of these folks. I mean, we're here to protect the residents.
Dan, if they chose option 3 and at the point that we went from 549 to 519, what is the dollar effect of an average electric bill per month?
It'll be $3 more a month saved.
Okay, so these things don't really move the needle a whole bunch. And the downside, I guess, to trying to lock in the 24 month is if a miracle happens and the energy drops and then we're stuck with this contract of 24 months. We could get fancy about it in many ways, but I just think that no matter what we do, we're never going to move the needle that much.
But if that were to happen, of course, residents could individually choose to opt out and go with a cheaper provider if that
That's
happened.
right.
And it's only going to be and your downside on this is only 6 months, because we know from May 21 to May 22, that capacity is up. So it may only be 3 months, because how Duke bills, the bill will be higher in June, July, August of 22. So we know that if there is some sort of issue, it'll occur in the last 3 months. And in the last 3 months, we will have long presented you with another option to cover that. So as I sit here and look at it, that last 18 months only has probably 3 months of unknown.
Have you ever been, you've been doing this for a number of years, have you ever been hit with the downsides where all of a sudden, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, so back in 2011 and 12, we were getting ready to start a program over in Delhi, and the numbers we were getting were not as good as the price to compare. So what we did was we went to the trustees in Delhi and we told them to hold the program for 6 months, because we knew that there was a piece of the price that was going to increase significantly. So what we did was we went in and we secured the price with the supplier and didn't start the program for 6 months to make sure that the residents had an opportunity to save right out of the gate. We don't, I don't, generally you'll see every home's built a little differently in the Duke territory, and we don't save folks every month a lot of times, but over the annualized, people will call me and say, hey, my bill this month was 5.5 cents and we're at 5.46 and it's January. And I say, listen, you're right where you need to be. Call me back in July and tell me what the difference is when the utilities is higher. So we do an annualized savings, and Mr. Work said, we're not moving the needle that much, but I always tell people, if there was $60 sitting in your garbage that you threw away outside in your garage, you'd go get it, wouldn't you? Well, this is easier than that, because they don't have to do anything.
Is it possible to cause a notice to be printed on the Duke bill informing the ratepayers that there's been a change in the contract and inviting them to look it up if they?
Yeah, so that's what we send out.
Okay.
So we send out a letter, and it outlines all of the things that I've told you, and then basically what'll happen is we field those phone calls. The administration here, generally in a lot of other townships, just says, get on the phone with Energy Alliances, and we'll put it on the website, and then I'll take those calls, explain it, and once you explain it, only folks that say, I just want to stick with Duke, They're the ones that stay out of the program. Everybody else says, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'd say, listen, call me back in 6 months. We'll go over your bill. We'll go over the last 6 months, and we'll see how you did. And they'll make that call, and we do it.
I can also say that I've had residents call me and after they've had conversations with Energy Alliances and have great luck with customer service. So I think you guys do a very good job.
Thank you.
And just looking at my notes, we've gone up a penny from the last time, we got a note from you, Dan, on the 19th. So it was a low price of $5 and it went to $5.18, and now it's
That's a tenth of a
$5.19.
penny.
Pardon?
It's a tenth of a penny.
A tenth of a cent, I mean.
Yeah,
Yep,
just the
yep.
market moving one way or the other.
Actually, a hundredth of a penny.
Yeah, it's actually,
So it's,
yeah.
it's,
So you need us to make a decision today, so we can move forward on this, based
You-
on these prices that we have today?
If you want to do the option 3, you can do that today, and I can have the addendum forwarded over to Mr. Warwick. If you want to give an at or below to him, and I can work with him over the next couple of weeks to find something, but you're always at risk of the market moving the wrong way.
I don't want to do that.
And this is good. I mean, this is going to be 6% off for the residents, for those last 18 months at least, and it could jump. We know it's not going backwards, because we know the capacity costs are going up.
Mr. Desai, if we were to proceed with this, is a motion to go with an option appropriate, or do we need a resolution as to approving the contract addendum? What's the proper vehicle here?
Well, I think if you do the option 3, I'm going to call it, where you go with the rate that has been discussed, you would motion to go with that rate and then authorize Mr. Ward to sign the amendment to the agreement for that purpose.
I move that we, as the Board of Trustees, approve proceeding with option 3 on the presentation we've had, which would be a 24-month tiered traditional rate from December 2020 through June 2021 of 5.49 cents, and from June 2021 to December 2022, 5.19 cents, and that we authorize Mr. Warwick to approve the contract addendum that has been proposed to us at those rates.
I'll second it.
Mr. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
All right.
Okay, Dan, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call or stop by the office. Around the corner.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, we've got Fiscal Officer Rob Porter, pay the bills, read the receipts.
Yes, we have disbursements of $257,443.94, receipts of $81,457.60. A complete listing of all receipts and disbursements is available in the office for your
Motion to
review.
approve.
Second.
The discussion, I'd like to pull the bill to Schroeder, Mundrell, with Attorney Bill, Scott Solman, that bill of $3,762.40. I would like to see more clarification on that. I never talked with Scott Solman, and I'm looking at that and wondering why he's charging us. I talked with Ken Geis, and I'm just afraid of, I just want to question him about possibility of double billing or what's going on. And I noticed he charged my conversation with him, which I never had, 54 minutes, and Mr. Weedman, 2 hours and 18 minutes. I thought we're going into an executive session, maybe I can mention that to Scott there and get clarification. So I think we should have really seriously considered dismissing them on August the 5th when they clearly violated the client-attorney privilege. But let's go ahead and pay that bill, but I want my comments to be on the public record. So go ahead and we'll pay that bill.
Go ahead and pay it.
Go ahead and pay the bill, but I want those comments on the public record. Call the roll.
Mr. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
I do have a question, not about what Jim was saying specifically, but Mr. Porter, each time in our meetings, you provide the amounts and note that a complete record is available in the office. Why don't we publish that record each week on our website, or after each meeting, like we do with our minutes and so forth, so no one has to go to the office for it? Is that something we could do, Mr. Warwick and Mr. Porter? in a form that wouldn't breach any confidences or provide any, tax ID numbers or anything for anyone that?
I don't see any problem with it. We could. We're on the checkbook. I mean, all the disbursements are on the checkbook. So, I mean, we can do whatever you want. Yeah, I mean, it's a public record.
Yeah, let's make it easier for the public then, and let's publish it somewhere in our document tree on the website then, so people can easily look it up if they want. I don't know that it requires a vote, but can we make that happen, Mr. Ward?
Yes, we can.
Let's do that.
Any further discussion?
We'll just do it. I mean,
That's it? Okay,
it is what it is.
we're going to move up with Lieutenant Mike Tarr with the sheriff report.
Other than the Ford Explorer that you guys recently purchased, that was put into service this week. The garage got it outfitted, and the vehicle we got from the fire department, they're currently just waiting on a couple of parts to come in. We had to transition a couple minor things, but other than that, nothing to report.
Any discussion? We certainly thank you for the job you guys are doing. Thank you very much.
I do have a question, I guess. I know there was a horrible accident on I-71 last week, which shut down the interstate just short of Montgomery Road for hours. I think there was a fatality there. Do you have any information about that you could share?
I spoke with the traffic guys earlier in the week. Other than there was no one injured besides the deceased, he struck a semi that had lawfully pulled over onto the shoulder. He lost control of his vehicle, struck the median, and then went onto the shoulder and struck the semi. As to the circumstances of why that occurred, they're still investigating that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lieutenant. With our EMS fire items, Assistant Chief Jerry Cooper.
The only report I have is our COVID update, which is, as of Saturday, 65 active address locations within the township. That number's probably still about the same. I still have to update us with a couple of reports from over the rest of the weekend, but right now we're sitting at 65. That's all I got.
Any questions for Coop?
Good to see you.
Tom. Roads, maintenance, recreation items, our superintendent, the well-tanned Mr. Cullums, Tracy Cullums.
Thank you. I just got back this morning, so I don't have a lot, but I know we did have our first yoga in the park last Sunday. There were a dozen people there, so the instructor was quite happy. So I know we, as of right now, that is going to be done at Bechtel Park every Sunday. We have not scheduled anything for any other park yet, waiting to see how this goes. But everybody seemed pleased that on the first one there was a dozen people there. Other than that, we have Trash Bash this weekend. And the houses on Plainfield and Sycamore have all been demoed. Other than that, we're just continuing with our projects, continuing with Sycamore Road, also with the maintenance facility in the back here, and everything. They tell me everything is on schedule.
Any questions?
I just want to praise Jason Petty in particular and the Parks Committee and you and your department for making this yoga happen there. I saw Jason on Thursday or Friday of last week out putting out signs at intersections too around the township to promote it, and there was some excitement, excuse me, online I saw about that too. So it's a good thing. It's good to see that happen.
We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it grows.
Yeah.
Skylar Miller is our planning zoning supervisor. Skylar?
Yes, sir. I originally had 4 resolutions for the board to review. I'd actually like to remove the first one at 7796 Columbia Avenue, the nuisance property piece of this. This is a vacant property that appears to be under bank control at this point, and over the weekend there was some some property maintenance and some upkeep that's happened. Junk vehicle is still there. banks are kind of notorious for not communicating. So, we still have not seen or we haven't had any actual dialogue with anyone on the property. So I would like to move forward with the junk vehicle on it. Let me see here. So I'll go ahead and pull up those pictures. This is a junk vehicle. It's set in the same spot actually it's my understanding for years. This is a property in the High Point subdivision, and there have been resident complaints on the site in general. So, if I may, I'll read the resolution. All right, this is a resolution providing for the removal of junk motor vehicle in Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, and the proper disposal, storage, or impoundment of motor vehicle by implementing the procedure set forth in Sycamore Township Resolution Number 2012-14 and sections 505.173, 505.85, and 505.871 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Motion?
Second.
Mr. LaBarber?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
I think I've got the loudest mouse. Let's see here. Okay, the next resolution I have for you is a property in Rossmoyne. This is a junk vehicle, again, we've received complaints about. We have tried to reach out to the property owner here numerous times with no success. As you can see, this vehicle hasn't been registered since 2018. It's kind of hard to see in this picture, but the tires are actually flattened, or it is, pretty obviously not roadworthy. Okay, so
Does someone live there currently?
there is someone that lives there, and we've made numerous attempts to contact them with no response.
That vehicle is blocking the end of the driveway of the street, it looks like, and it hasn't moved. Is there another vehicle on site that we know of?
No, not that I know of. It's just the vehicle is not being used and just being stored in that driveway. All right. Unless there's any other questions, I'll read the resolution. A resolution providing for the removal of junk motor vehicle in Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, and the proper disposal, storage, or impoundment of motor vehicle by implementing the procedure set forth in Sycamore Township Resolution Number 2012-14 and sections 505.173, 505.85, and 505.871 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Motion?
Second.
Mr. LaBarber?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
All right, and the last one is another junk vehicle. This is another High Point property. The property itself is actually already under public nuisance, and we are working with Mr. Desai to get the lien holder information on this one. There's actually two junk vehicles here. One is this work truck chassis in bed, which has been on site for a number of years. This junk vehicle has actually, there's already been a resolution on this in years past. It was temporarily moved off-site, and it made its way back. It's my understanding it's not functioning at this point. Tires are flat. You've got storage material being tucked into the back of it and stacked up against it. So, again, no cooperation with the resident.
Skylar, this guy's a multiple offender as well, isn't he?
This is a repeat offender. The property, the property has been looked at by Hamilton County as possibly a condemned property.
It's a total wreck.
It's total wreck. Yep. So, that being said, I'll read the resolution. Resolution providing for the removal of junk vehicles in Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, and the proper disposal, storage, or impoundment of motor vehicles by implementing the procedure set forth in Sycamore Township Resolution Number 2012-14 and sections 505.173, 505.85, and 505.871 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Motion.
Second. Second. Sorry, losing my voice.
Mr. Porter?
Mr. LaBarber?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. Skylar, on August 23rd, our good friend Bean at the corner of Wexford and Galbraith had 52 cars on his lot.
Yes, sir.
Where are we at on that?
We've actually documented an excess of vehicles on his site numerous times, and we are in contact with a partner with
Rob Butler.
that has handled that for us in the past. So we're just filing paperwork. There's going to be multiple days of
I mean, it's a daily
violations.
offense.
Yeah, every day
day's got
is
more
a separate
than he's
offense. The issue is that, it's not, we're not seeing the vehicles slowly moved off. We're seeing new ones cycled in. The number of vehicles there on a daily basis is,
It's ridiculous.
it's ebbing and flowing. It's all new vehicles.
And he's always got a
So-
few in the parking lot at Dillonville Shopping Center, and he's always got a few on the streets of Dillonville.
Yep.
I mean,
So-
he's got them all over the place.
Yeah, so that one, for better or worse, it will be back in court soon.
Is he paying the fines? Will we fine him?
Every time, yes, sir.
He
He
did.
did? He does pay the fines.
They're all paid up.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a choice because there's a standing order that
Yep.
anytime he's in contempt of the number he's allowed to keep on there, it's just a formula that he has to pay. And I think the last time he gave us 8,000 was last year, maybe earlier this year. So,
It's earlier this year.
yeah, so, Rob Butler will file the motion for contempt. He'll use the data that is provided by Skylar, and he last time had Steve Hunt representing him, so I imagine we'll hear from him, and there'll be an offer of, hey, instead of paying 12, can we pay you 8 or whatever, and then we'll come to the board like we did last time with that. Just a little side note, as you probably know, he has a huge operation over off Wayne Avenue. That's all up for sale. Lee Fisher is handling that for him, and including the warehouse in between, who's owned by name just slipped my mind. I'll remember in a bit, but it's a large 34-acre site, so that whole thing is up for sale, which tells me he might be starting to get out of the business, because I know he's not a spring chicken anymore.
He owns the lot behind the European Auto Specialist, I think, doesn't he, Tracy?
Yes, he does.
Just full of junk cars. It's full.
Yeah, I mean, the concern here is we don't want another Carl Cleves situation on our hands, if anybody is familiar with that name. Just a gentleman that was very famous for collecting vehicles, keeping them at various properties, and then passed away, and the municipalities were left to deal with the cleanup. So I know with the Wayne Avenue property, there is the county, the jurisdiction in which the property is located, the realtor, and several people, if you will, are trying to combine efforts to get that taken care of and get that deal done. Because the concern is, I don't know if you've seen that facility out there, but he must have 2,000 cars out there.
Yeah, so when he sells that, where are they being displaced to?
Yeah.
That's another problem.
Yeah, so just something to keep on the radar, because if Mr. Bean were to leave this earth, and at that point, I don't know what else you could do except as a municipality go in and clean it up and then lien the property, but that's a nightmare nobody wants to have to deal with.
Absolutely.
Steve Hunt is scheduled to be here in just a little while as part of the executive session we're having. I don't know if it would be helpful to this or whether he still represents Mr. Bean, but perhaps one of the two of you, Mr. Miller or Mr. Desai, might want to at least have a conversation with him.
Yeah, I can reach out to him.
Certainly, yep. Other than that, I just have a couple of quick updates. The PUD2 case for 7555 Fields Earl Road was heard last night by Zoning Commission. We held that meeting via Zoom. There was no members of the public that requested to participate. The Zoning Commission is making a recommendation to approve the PUD application with some minor conditions, improved landscaping, some changes to the dumpster enclosure. So that will be brought in front of the Board of Trustees here the night of the next regular meeting. Also, last week we had a open house for the address escapes me at this point. The Montgomery Road property that I previously presented to the board for the 22-unit multifamily project by Grand Communities. That meeting was, I would say, fairly well attended. I would say there was at least 20 people on that Zoom meeting. There was certainly a lot of concern from surrounding residents and community members about the appropriateness and the density of that site.
That's 8760 Montgomery Road, according to my
Thank you,
notes.
sir. Yes, you're correct. Thank you. At any rate, the developers have not submitted a formal application yet. I believe they still have until the 21st if they want to make it on the October agenda. Until then, we'll just sit back and wait.
I had asked you about renderings, possibly showing the rear side of that that would face the neighborhood. Is the developer going to be providing that?
I'll require that as part of a PUD application, but at this point in time, they're not going to submit anything. Not until there's a formal application. But yeah, we will include that.
Any questions for Mr. Miller?
Question about a different topic. I mentioned this to you last week, and I know there haven't been many business days since then, but on the North Creek property, on the permanent landscape buffer there behind the Tri-Health building between it and Kugler Mill Road, where the township permitted the temporary construction road to go through the berm, the developer, after demolishing the North Creek building there, replaced the trees, but it appears the trees are dead. Have you had an opportunity to reach out to them yet about getting those?
I haven't. You and I spoke about that on Friday, correct? Yeah, I have not reached out to them yet, but I will this week.
Okay, yeah, we'll need to get that taken care of.
Anything else from Mr. Miller? All right, let's move on to our law director,
Nothing to
Mr.
report, sir.
Deepak Desai.
Nothing to report, sir.
Deepak, our administrator is Ray Ward.
Actually,
Nothing to report.
Wait, a question,
Sorry.
wait, excuse me,
Yeah,
Columbo.
pause for
A
questions.
Columbo moment, excuse me. A question for Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Desai and Mr. Warwick also, I mentioned this to Ray already, but I understand that with this CARES Act money raining down on us, that is use it or lose it in many ways. I know that Chief Penny and Chief Cooper here have some ideas for how to use some of that money, certainly, and a lot of it will be useful for public safety. But you had mentioned months ago about wanting at some point to move ahead with digitizing or at least organizing our resolutions into some sort of code for the township. And if I understand correctly, CARES Act money can actually be used for the cost of some of that digitization and equipment needed for it, because it makes those things hands-off and accessible remotely. And this might be an opportunity to use some of the $700 some odd thousand we're expecting from the next infusion on getting some of that done so that we'll have a better index of all that the boards of trustees in the past have done and a record of that that the public can access going back further than what we have online now also. So I just want to get that on each of your radars also, if that's something we can move ahead with. And federal money will fund it, and we don't have something else to spend it on, and we're going to lose it anyway, then that may be something to use for that, where we could actually hire a contractor if needed to digitize the old records and assist with some of that project.
I would just ask Deepak to check into that to confirm that we in fact can use that money for that.
If I may interject, there's a service and software program that the township already has called OnBase. We've actually been notified by them that the version that we have is being phased out. So if we want to continue with OnBase, and this is the the searchable PDFs and that more thorough database. If we want to move forward with that, we have to renew right now to the to the latest and greatest version. We could have a salesperson come in and talk about how to implement that, and we can get an updated price. So if we can use this funding for it, there's a software ready to go.
And again, Mr. Desai would be the arbiter as to whether we can do it or not. I've gotten some solicitations, I know, junk emails basically from services saying, hey, use CARES Act money for this sort of thing. So I hope they're right and it's not puffery.
Well, there's also a webinar of sorts coming up, I think, in a week or so. OTA's putting on to try to, because we've all been calling them saying, we need to maybe have a unified voice of how these things can be used. And so that's coming up, and we'll certainly sit in on that. Also, I think with respect to digitizing these records, I think we have some hardware problems too that would have to be addressed. So if indeed we find out that the CARES money is fair game for that, then I think there's plenty we could do if absence of not needing it for first responder things.
Okay, so we can move on. Administrator Ray Warwick?
That's all I have.
Okay. Fiscal Officer Rob Porter.
I don't have any communications.
Trustee items. Gentlemen?
I have that.
Mr. James?
Just my regular reminder, if you haven't registered to vote, please do. If you have the time and opportunity and good health to serve as an election worker, the Board of Elections needs someone for that. Please consider doing that. I had mentioned in our last meeting to Mr. Warwick about the possibility of encouraging township workers to actually work the polls as precinct election officials, assisting people in voting. And if that's something we can facilitate and there's time left for them to train to do that, I think that would be a good thing for us to promote as a township as well, because I know the Board of Elections needs people to staff all those places to let people vote. That's what I got.
I have an item. I noticed on Next Door Neighbor, it's a social media site, that Katie Stewart has a house for rent on Orchard Lane, Indian Hill School District, for $1,900. I was told by a resident there's another house that is now being rented for $2,300 a month. That's on that same street on Orchard. And I know the Sycamore Township, we own a house that we're renting for, I understand, am I correct, $700 a month? And I'm just wondering if we shouldn't, well, first of all, we shouldn't be renting houses, but since we are, can we at least get fair market value? Skylar, Tracy, can you guys follow up on that, or?
Sure. We'll have to check the contracts, see where we stand on the contracts right now.
Yeah, it was $1,900 a month. She's good. And announcements, check our website for the latest updates. Tracy had mentioned North Trash Bash is this Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4, Clayton McDaniel Sports Complex on School Road. You mentioned yoga in the park, a big success. Did you go to that, Mr. James?
I did not actually make it there, no. But I actually got a report that there were 16 people there instead of 12, so it was well attended, however many were there, certainly.
And the South Trash Bash is Saturday the 26th, 8 a.m. to 4 at Bechtold Park, is that correct? And then our next workshop is 9 a.m. Tuesday, September 29th, I'm going to make a motion now to adjourn into executive session with Attorney Scott Solman to discuss ongoing litigation as permitted by Ohio Revised Code 12122. Do we have a second?
Actually, Mr. Desai, and I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but the motion as read was to adjourn to discuss ongoing litigation as permitted by Revised Code Section 121.22. Don't we need to state a subpart as to that? Or do we?
I don't think you even need to reference the code. The only thing I would say is it's technically supposed to be pending litigation, not ongoing litigation.
Pending.
But a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss pending litigation with Attorney Scott Solomon is sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do it again. I'm making a
The
motion.
regional retentive administrator here likes to put that subsection in there often. But,
I'm
It's
going
always
to
good to be precise.
make a motion to
but it's not
adjourn
necessary.
into executive session with Attorney Scott Solman to discuss pending litigation. Do we have a
Second.
second? Call the vote.
Mr. LaBarbera,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
I'm inviting to this meeting Ray Warwick, our trustees, Skylar Miller, Tracy Kellums, Rob Porter, Ken Geis. The time is 9:51.
Are we going back there? You need to take the pen.
The time is 11:20. We are now back in regular session. Mr. Porter, would you please call the roll?
Mr. LaBarber,
Here?
Mr. James,
Here?
Mr. Weedman.
Here.
Mr. James?
Yes, I have a motion to give authority to Mr. Solomon on behalf of the township to finalize a TIF memorandum of understanding to facilitate further negotiations on the North Creek project and our goal of facilitating continued residential character maintenance on Kugler Mill Road.
Second.
Mr. LaBarber,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Thank you, Scott.
Let's see, Scott.
Motion to adjourn.
No,
We got something else? Go ahead.
Mr.
Real
Schuyler
quick,
Miller
I
has.
was showing, this was kind of in the background earlier. We have a township resident and actually Kenwood Road neighbor, Mr. Jeremy Payne, who amateur drone pilot and photographer for us. He's been doing some aerial photos of our project back here, and I just wanted to say thank you publicly, and we'll put these on the website.
Looks
And,
awesome. Did a great job.
Yeah, he does a wonderful job for us. Just occasionally, I get sent a random shot like this, and it's just very neat, very cool to see a different perspective on this project as it progresses.
It's looking great.
Looks
Thank
great.
you, Mr. Payne.
I want to thank Schuyler for giving me a tour. I was in the Salt Dome in the new building. They're doing a great job back there. Guys, terrific job.
Can I just add something that came up in the meeting before? On the publication of the receipts and distributions, I was reminded by Debbie that with the distributions, we will have to redact any payments to individual firefighters or police officers. Otherwise, that can be put on the website, but with those redactions only.
Okay. Is there a way to generate a report of them that just excludes those types of payments so that it's a searchable PDF?
We'll just redact them. Otherwise, we'll put the whole thing on.
Okay, well, just the reason I ask is then the PDF could be a text-based PDF that's searchable as opposed to an image PDF. I guess if we OCR it, that's not as big a deal.
I think that can be done. I mean, I don't want to make promises that we can't keep,
Sure.
but that's the object that we're going to do, is make it fully accessible to everyone, but there won't be for any payments to an individual police officer or fire department.
Okay, that's all.
Would be removed.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the time is 11:23. Stay safe, stay healthy.